Good morning and welcome to the Lorain County Board of County Commissioners for a budget hearings this morning. The day is Tuesday, November 29th. If you'll please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And our inspirational word for the day comes from Psalms. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His love endures forever. Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Lundy,
Here.
Commissioner Moore,
Here.
Commissioner Hung.
Here.
Perfect.
Okay. We have a budget hearing scheduled throughout the day, and for those of you who may be watching at home, in between some of these budget discussions, we may take a brief break as we wait for the next party to come up to bat. We're going to begin this morning. We'll be going through, well, till almost 1 o'clock, I believe, today. Starting first is domestic relations. Always good to see Judge Swinski and Emily Kirsch and Tim Weitzel and Kristen Richardson. Did I get everybody right? Okay. So, okay, yeah, make way to the podium, and we'll get the show started.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning,
I'm
Judge.
Lisa Swinski. Thank you for having us. We appreciate the opportunity to go through our budget request, and we look forward to working with you. And now leave you in the capable hands of my administration.
Thank you, Judge. Good morning. On behalf of Administrative Judge Lisa Swensky.
By the microphone. There you go.
Oh, it's this one.
Oh, I didn't see that one. It was blocked my view with the.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
There we go. Okay. On behalf of the Administrative Judge Lisa Swensky, Judge Sherry Glass, and Judge Frank Janik, we would like to thank you for meeting with us today and giving us this opportunity to discuss our budget and review our accomplishments throughout the past year. I am Emily Kirsch, the Court Administrator for the Domestic Relations Court. Presenting with me today is Tim Weitzel, who is the Court Administrator for the Juvenile Court, and Kristen Richardson, who is the Deputy Court Administrator and our Fiscal Director. What makes our court unique is that we are a dual jurisdiction court, which simply means we have two courts, the Juvenile Court and the Domestic Relations Court. Some of our juvenile court cases include delinquency, abuse, neglect, and dependency cases, child support enforcement and establishment cases, as well as adult contributing cases. Additionally, we operate our own juvenile clerk's office. Some of the domestic relations court cases are dissolutions, divorces, custodies and visitations, and domestic violence protection orders. We are very excited to announce that we received a federal grant for $425,000 to partner with Ohio Legal Help and create a much-needed virtual and in-person help center for self-represented litigants, as well as for those who cannot afford an attorney. The Virtual Self-Help Center will be a mobile-first platform that uses a simple guided interview as well as a live chat functionality, and it will allow the user to create, edit, and save court documents that can be filed to the court or submitted to the court. Additionally, we will have an on-site help center to assist those who prefer the in-person assistance or do not have access to reliable technology. This grant will also cover the cost of an upgrade to the case management system for our domestic relations cases that are filed with the Clerk of Courts. A bit of an overview about our accomplishments throughout the past year. Our juvenile court clerk's office, we have updated our juvenile case management system, and that includes the e-filing, e-payments, e-notifications, and a new e-citation portal for local law enforcement, and that is being paid with grant funds. Throughout the past year, we have also applied for over $2.6 million in grant funds, and we have been awarded over $1.9 million in grant funds to cover things such as technology, case management upgrades, probation services, and new court services like our help center. Presenting now will be Tim Weitzel, the Juvenile Court Administrator.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tim Weitzel, good to see you guys again. And as you can see, we're very proud of the accomplishments that we made on the domestic side of our court. It's been a great year so far, and we're equally as proud of the accomplishments that we've made on the juvenile side. And one of the biggest pillars that we focus on this year has been our diversion services. So as a Juvenile Detention Alternatives Initiative court, we are trying our best to avoid unnecessary placement of youth into detention home. And we've been very successful with that. With that said, we also take those serious offenders, those gun offenses, extremely seriously, and we utilize that facility for that, appropriately. Over the course of 2022, we've been able to successfully divert 69% of our cases. And thanks to a great collaboration with the Lorain County prosecutor, all misdemeanors get funneled right to our Lorain County Assessment and Resource Center. And at that point, we have the ability to assess each youth and family without going through the formal court process, get them linked with services, and have them move on. At our initial data collection, we had diverted 1,100 cases and only 10% came back to our attention, which we're extremely proud of. Our use of detention is a major focus. We pay close attention to racial disparity in detention, and we're very pleased to announce that we've reduced the amount of black youth in our detention home by 51% since we started our process of reform. And even more important, we're now leaders in the state of Ohio in regards to our practice, and we hope that you're proud of what our juvenile court is and what we've done in this state. We actually have other counties that reach out to us now to come and see our new programming, which we're extremely proud of. Some of the things that happened this year, and I did get a chance to email this over to Commissioner Lundy in August, News Channel 5 reached out to us to do a news story on us about racial disparity in detention. So anytime the news reaches out, you assume it might not be for the best intentions, but for this case, it was awesome. We got a chance to talk with Homa Bash and share about our Crossroads program, which is an evening reporting center model. Our Crossroads program, we actually pick high-risk delinquent youth up from school, and we have them till 8 o'clock at night. And while they're there, it's sort of a one-stop shop. They're fed, they get tutoring, they get counseling. We expose them to different trades. We do our best to change their behaviors and their thought process. So this news article was a great story for us, and it definitely was awesome exposure for these juvenile child that was chosen. Our Voices for Children program was recognized at the Cleveland Cavalier Community Foundation and also featured on Power 89.1 this year. For your knowledge, that's the program that organizes and recruits and trains our volunteer guardian ad litems for the neglect and dependency cases. Fantastic program for our court, and it was nice for them to get that recognition. And finally, in regards to our accomplishments, we had the opportunity to host the first annual Lorain County Information and Connection event over at Spitzer College. And this was driven by our Reimagining Juvenile Justice movement at our court. So basically, about 50 different vendors, community service providers came into that facility, set up tables, provided all the information about their programs, and the families were invited to come in and go table to table and get linked with services. There's so many services in this county that most people aren't aware of. This was a good opportunity to connect everybody and to connect us to other partners. To touch on gun offenses, this has really changed this county, and as you see in the news regularly, it's important to note that the number one cause of death for teens in America right now is gun homicides, and we're definitely not exempt to that here in Lorain County. 87 gun-related cases since 2021 in this county alone, and our judges take this very seriously, and we want to make sure that the community's safe. And as a result, there's been quite a few that have been sent to the Department of Youth Services or maintained in our detention home, because that's a priority. With that said, there's a 222% increase at the Department of Youth Services based on these gun offenses since the pandemic had started. We've done a good job trying to collaborate with law enforcement throughout the course of this gun problem in Lorain County. They work with us with our GPS monitors. We have a lot of communication there. But ultimately, this has had a major impact on our grant funding and our reclaim grant, because every commitment that we have has a detrimental effect on the funds that we receive. We're not okay with just sitting back and letting this continue to happen without trying something. So we came across this new program called Renounce Denounce. And this is a program out of Cuyahoga County tailored towards gun and gang violence. And as we know, gun violence is a major issue. Gang involvement for our youth is a major issue in this county. So this is a 10-week intensive gang and gun violence program and curriculum that these youth go through, and then they get linked with services for years afterwards. What we love about Renounce Denounce is it keeps mentors involved with these kids on the long term in hopes to reduce gun violence in Lorain County. I had a chance to present some of this information in Columbus a few weeks ago, and this does not exist in the state. So we're fortunate to have access to this. There's not a lot of evidence-based practices out there for gun and gang violence. This is a promising practice, but we're at the stage where we have to try something, and we're going to continue to be leaders in regards to stopping gun violence.
How long have they been at it? Do you know?
They've been for a few years.
For a few years now?
Yeah, out of Cuyahoga County, and they're looking to really expand. So we're actually applying for a grant now through the Ohio Department of Youth Services to partner with them.
Okay.
And we want this located in the city of Lorain and Elyria. That's where 83% of these cases are. So it's easy access, whether it be at libraries, community centers. We don't want any barriers to families being able to get there. So our judges will continue to take this seriously and make sure that we're keeping violent offenders off the streets, but we're going to try our best to change their behavior at the same time. So with that said, I'm going to pass it over to Kristen Richardson, our Deputy Court Administrator and Fiscal Director.
Good morning, everyone. So as mentioned before, we have 2 courts. We employ over 155 staff, and we're one of the largest divisions under the county commissioners. We also operate our own clerk's office and 2 24/7 youth facilities. One of these facilities, the detention home, was built in the 1950s. It's really starting to show its age. We have been working with the commissioner's staff on some of the building improvements and have been instructed that these costs should be moved to our 2023 budget moving forward, which we have done. We are in desperate need of a new control board that operates all locked doors in the building. And it was stated that we have the most outdated control board in the state, according to our site auditor from DYS. So it took us over 6 months just to find a state term vendor that was even willing to come and do a quote for us. We ended up finding a state term vendor in Indiana that was actually willing to come to the facility and look at this major project. And just this project alone costs $120,000 for this replacement. In the past, these type of projects were covered by the Commissioner's Capital Improvement Fund since they are county-owned buildings, but we will do our best to seek out grant funds to assist with these type of capital improvements. Our 2023 budget includes a 5% increase for residential youth meals. This past year, we also had to increase the starting rate for residential staff to $16 an hour. This was a necessary step in order to meet ratio requirements from our licensing authority. We would also like to note that we have our own fleet of vehicles instead of putting the transportation responsibilities on our sheriff's department. We pay for all fuel, maintenance, and repair costs for 16 vehicles. So for revenue paid to the commissioners, we participate in the National School Breakfast, Lunch, and Snack Program for all residential youth meals and receive federal reimbursements through the Ohio Department of Education. This is an optional reimbursement program that is not required by our court. We also receive federal reimbursements for our 4D child support contract. We generate approximately $900,000 of revenue from court fines and fees, federal reimbursements, and agency contributions, which are paid directly to the county's commissioner, the County Commissioner General Fund accounts. We are requesting the same budget as 2022 with a 5% increase in salary and food services accounts, the noted increase in DH repair accounts, and a $27,000 annual increase for digital recording costs for all courtrooms, which was previously paid for by the commissioners. Our 2023 general fund budget request is $9,510,358, which is a 4.9% increase from our 2022 budget request. We believe that this request is reasonable and necessary for the operations of Lorain County Juvenile Court and Domestic Relations Court. Thank you.
Okay. Questions? Commissioner?
Yeah, I like the help center, neat concept. So you got $425,000. What's
Yes.
going to be the carrying cost from here on out?
Well, we're going to post for a staff attorney position, but we're going to make sure that in that posting, it is stated that it's covered with grant funds. So at the conclusion of the 2-year grant, that position is not guaranteed, so we will evaluate that at that time. Because it's also going to be a virtual self-help center, so there's going to be an online platform. It's kind of going to work like TurboTax, so it's very easy for the public
Okay.
to do these documents and file for court.
And then we won't need lawyers anymore. Is that nice? Thank you. That was my only question.
You have down here about increasing the starting rate for the residential staff to $16 an hour. I know the marketplace is changing considerably. Where were we before?
The previous rate was $14.21 an hour.
14.21.
So we couldn't even get applicants at that time. So we did a wage study across the state to see what other detention facilities were paying. So we made that decision based on those findings.
And what's the market looking like for grant funding for capital improvements? Are you optimistic or concerned?
I'm optimistic because I did hear from the Ohio Department of Youth Services that they're putting out a capital improvement grant in the future. We haven't heard anything more about it, so it's just a rumor right now, but I guarantee you if there's a grant out there, we're applying for it.
And you said the need for security updates, you said 120,000?
That's just for the control board
Just for the
alone.
control
So
board
the control
alone?
board, yes, it,
Explain a little bit about the control board.
sure.
The control board is just what it sounds like. In the detention home, it doesn't just take calls and everything. It opens and locks the doors to the various cells and to the various day rooms, et cetera. And it is pretty old. And I commend Kristen for trying everything to find somebody who would just come out and give us a quote for that. Obviously, if that goes down, there are all kinds of problems that would happen in that detention home that I don't even want to think about. But we're putting it together, we're keeping it together the best we can, but we definitely have to replace that.
Okay. In government, we're familiar with outdated equipment, unfortunately. So try to stretch the dollar as far as we can, but then it reaches a point where it's just not realistic anymore. And certainly security and safety is a priority. So, any other questions? As I've indicated before in the message I sent out, I'm hoping that we can tailor a lot of these budgets, come in somewhere around 4%. But, you know, as I said, I'm certainly willing to consider exceptions that may be needed. Certainly safety is a big one.
Safety, but not only that, it's the building improvements
Right.
that, weren't previously budgeted for
Right.
before. We understand that, and we're making sure that we account for those costs moving forward.
Okay. Any other questions? No? Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you, staff.
time.
Right.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
We're running just a little bit ahead of schedule. Up next at 10 o'clock, we have Sheriff Stamiti and his team. So, Sheriff, you want to come up and?
Or is he going to have Sandy do all the work? I mean,
Yeah, I was going to say, good to see her face in the room. Hi, Sandy. Hi.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
I guess I did send over to KC just a rough one-page, basically spelling out what we're asking for. And we had put a 3% increase, cost of living increase for raises. But overall budget, I think for the jail for 2023, we're asking for a 2.4% increase. And then obviously, the jail tax brings in roughly 12 million. It might bring a little bit more this year, but we're guessing about $12 million that 0.25% will bring in. So that'll offset this. Obviously, you'll be supplementing this about 5 million something. I got the amount here. But anyways, on the general fund, we're asking for 7.2 million, which is an increase of 2.6%. And for corrections, we're still down. I mean, everybody's having a hard time hiring people right now. And sometimes you can find some people, but obviously there's a lot of reasons why you're not hiring them, because they're not qualified for the position. And so we're still down 7 corrections officers and 1 nurse in the jail. And we actually had to go to 12-hour shifts for the nurses only to be able to attract them, because that's where everybody else is doing. Because the hospitals are paying such big bonuses right now. But we've been lucky enough that we've had some apply, and actually I'm interviewing another one next week. So, and then deputy-wise, we were only down 4, but I just had one deputy, actually 2 deputies came in yesterday. One's going to private enterprise. He's been there about 8 years. A great officer, but he was offered something he couldn't refuse, and some business in Avon hired him up. But then another one's going back to Medina, where he come from. So we're looking for 6 guys, but we have several backgrounds going right now. That's where I'm at. And I just wanted to also, the lateral transfers, I appreciate you doing that for us in the jail. We're negotiating right now with the deputies. Hopefully we're getting close. Sometimes you think you're there, and then sometimes you know this comes up. But we're still in the negotiations with them, and we are getting close, I think, on that. But we're trying to get the lateral transfer in there too, because this is what a lot of departments are doing now. They're putting in a lateral transfer where if I have 5 years on another police department, I might go to Lorain or Elyria. They'll start me out. You know, you go through an FTO program. As soon as I'm done with that program, I might go to the 2-year rate or the 3-year rate instead of staying at a probationary rate, which is an incentive to get people over there. And that's what we're doing in corrections. We've, you know, I hate to say it, but we've taken several people from the prisons over here in Grafton that have experience, and they come over because they know they're going to start at a little bit higher rate. And so it's worked out really well for us. So we're looking to get that into the deputy's contract too, because we think we'll be able to draw. But Bob, is you rob Peter to pay Paul, you know, like they say, and everybody's trying to do the same thing, but it's just a wave of the future, what's going on right now. As you know, there's still a lot of jail renovations. You know, it was funny that the judge was talking about those boards. We had one go out about 2 months ago, and we couldn't find parts for it anymore. So actually, the guy that we had looking, he went on eBay and finally found a part for it. That's the only way we'll be able to fix that board. And it was one of the main doors to go through. But as you know, technology changes yearly. I mean, you know, you get something and they're only going to guarantee it 4 or 5 years, and then after that, they don't even make parts for things anymore. And as far as vehicles, I know we came over here earlier because it's weird the way vehicles are going right now. It's almost like you're a year behind of ordering. So for 2024 vehicles, we'll probably be back here in March or April asking for ones that we're going to get in 24. We're still waiting on 8 cars right now for this year. But you know, you got to wait till they build them and then things of that order. One good thing is, since you guys have done a great job of giving us enough funding to get enough cars, we believe, I mean, knock on wood so nobody has any accidents, but if we keep going at the rate we're going, we're probably only going to need about 6 cars next time, which is, you know, instead of 8 or 9 like we've been ordering. I did want to mention my staff here, Captain Rich Bosley, who runs the law enforcement's here. My secretary, Kelly Thompson, who actually is retiring tomorrow after 28 years.
Wow.
She's been my secretary for 6 years. We hate to lose her, but we have a great replacement for her, which is Sandy Strozak. She's been training her for the last couple months, but as you know, Sandy knows everybody in this county too.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
it's a great replacement. I'm happy for Kelly, and I'm happy that I got a replacement that's going to come in and hit the ground running. So I'll entertain any other questions that you might have.
I just think it's important to have the discussion. I won't be sitting in this chair next year, but all I can say is that, I've been on record that this county clearly needs a new jail. And, those discussions hopefully will continue with the new board. We talk about, we may laugh about it, but it's something that is frustrating how outdated so many things are in that jail. Very concerned about, the safety of the guards in the jail because of the lines of sight and other challenges. And obviously, we don't want the county to be the focus of litigation because there has to be good conditions for the inmates as well, too. And but I think, certainly, Sheriff, you want to talk a little bit about the need for a new jail.
Sure. I mean, and obviously we're meeting with GCL, the consultants that you had hired. We're meeting with them actually Thursday. Captain Hammond and myself and Jail Administrator Gordon. They're going to come out to the jail itself, talk to us, actually do a walkthrough in the jail. I mean, obviously, we know that jail was originally built in 1977, and, it's not what we need now. And obviously, you can build them more, like you say, with direct line of sight. Right now, we're pretty much a direct supervision type jail where you got to actually have people inside pods because you can't really see areas. So you got 2 pods and 2 pods where you got to have officers in both those, and then you got somebody in the control booth, obviously controlling all the doors and everything. But you can build a better type jail where, I'm not going to say you don't need personnel, but you don't maybe need as many. And not that we're, through attrition we can maybe do that, but I mean, obviously, you still got to have enough people when you have problems in those areas, which we have them daily. As you know, we're holding 25 to 26 murders in there from mostly
Right.
Lorain and Elyria. And, so some of them are pretty hardcore people that we're guarding. And some of them, they'll be there a couple years, 2 to 3 years before they go to trial. But, yeah, it's different. And as you know, you've replaced some rooftop units. I mean, I called you last winter when we had an emergency when everything went out. And those rooftop units are, $200,000-$300,000 by the time you get a crane out there to put them up on the roof. And then that roof, I can tell you, it's a flat roof, which is the worst
Right.
design you could ever have. It's got leaks still to this date that whenever it rains real hard, we got to figure out what pod is it going to leak in today. And then it just ruins the roof and the ceilings and everything else. But we're still going through that. But you're right, we definitely need a new jail. And even the locks on the doors, I mean, they're worn out. My maintenance guys, we've sent an officer, one of our maintenance guys, 3 or 4 years to Texas to be able to build these type of locks. He does the best that he can, but once again, we're having a hard time finding parts for him anymore. He's jury rigged a couple of them so they work, but those days are coming to an end.
Yeah. I know certainly in my conversations with the commissioner-elect, I'm going to encourage him to run down to Warren County and take a look at that facility. I know I had the opportunity to tour it along with Commissioner Hung, and there is nothing fancy about the Warren County facility, but the line of sight, and I thought it just was a good use of space. But there was not a thing in there that I thought was fancy by any means, just very effective and efficient.
Yeah, and Sheriff Sims up there is a great sheriff, and they built the jail up there right. I know they put a levy on, but it was just a temporary levy
Yes,
to build
it
the
was.
jail. I believe it was like a 5-year levy, and then after that it goes away, and it was pretty much just to build the jail itself. But, yeah, I was encouraged that Commissioner-elect Rydell had mentioned that he understood that we possibly need a new jail.
Okay. Any other questions, Commissioner?
Thank you for being here, Sheriff. My questions always come around the cars. So if you could expand for the public, I mean, we see the emails as the commissioners. You've been very proactive when cars get totaled in finding replacements for those on the used car market. If you could kind of expand for the public on what you've done and how many you've had to replace in the past couple of years.
Yeah, and I give credit to Captain Dan Ashdown. He's like my administrative captain. That's the go-to guy when you give him a project, and the guy is excellent at it. And we have one vehicle maintenance guy that services all our vehicles there, and he does a fabulous job too. And you're right, sometimes we get in accidents, they're not our fault, but then you still got to go to the insurance companies and go back and forth with that, and then try to find a replacement vehicle. And we've been, we try to get them in Lorain County, obviously, from the different dealerships, and sometimes we've been lucky enough to find some cars, especially for the Detective Bureau, when you need an unmarked type car. We've been lucky enough to get that. So it's, I can't give you an exact number, Commissioner, how many we've done, but, you can never tell, like, the deer accidents that we have. Our officers are traveling so many miles in the county. As you know, it's almost 500 square miles, and they're going from one end to the next. And, we've had so many, deer run out on officers, and now, you hit one deer, and you're talking probably $3,000 in damage, because, everything's plastic. Now, my mechanics save the county money, because sometimes I call him the pack rat. He tries to save some of the old cars too much so he can take parts off of those to put them on the ones that we have. But he does a fabulous job, and he does that all in-house. And so otherwise we'd be sending them out to body shops, which he saves us a lot of money that way.
And the public, they call 911 and expect you to be there, and they also need to understand that what you guys are doing behind the scenes to protect the fleet and to make sure that it is updated and current. And if you've got a because of the supply chain issues, find something that's 2 years old, at least you're getting that vehicle replaced so it's in the fleet.
Yep, and as you know, that's their office. That's where they're sitting in there, they're typing in there, their MDT's in there, they're getting everything over in there. I'd rather have them get out of the cars once in a while and, kind of get around the general public a little bit more. We encourage that. They go to the schools and walk around inside the schools right now. And actually, we have 5 school resource officers right now, which is a good thing. And then the nice thing about that is the schools will pay their salary for the 9 months. We only have to pick up the other 3 months, which is a good collaboration, as they say.
Thank you.
Very good.
Okay, thank you, Commissioners.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thanks, Sheriff. Yeah, at this point, we're going to pause the budget hearings, and we'll resume shortly. And we return for our budget hearing discussions, and up next, Soil and Water, Will Schlechter. Will?
Hi, good morning. How you guys doing?
Well,
Good to see you. So I'm going to go over the numbers of our budget. Our main expense is
Could you maybe first just educate the public, go over about, responsibilities, duties, things that you do, and
Oh yeah, sure, I can do
Sure,
that.
that'd be good for
So, yeah,
everybody to
I'm
understand.
chairman of the board of the Lorain Soil and Water Conservation District. Some of our responsibilities is to help farmers keep Lake Erie clean is the main objective. All the streams, from nutrients, runoff. We assist the state with programs that they have to assist farmers with that. Then we also work with the federal government as well, NRCS, Natural Resource and Conservation District, that bring in federal dollars to help farmers do the same thing, put in waterways, as far as farmers are concerned, and preserving the soil, the water, and all of our resources. The other responsibility we have is with the partnership with Stormwater, where we work with contractors in issuing permitting and making sure the contractors are doing best management practices as far as keeping sediment and erosion out of the streams and lakes as well. I guess in a nutshell, that's kind of what we're all about. And we're here to partner with whoever needs assistance with any of those resource concerns.
Well, you do partner with the engineer's office, because when I go to the meetings, I hear any comments from Soil and Water for whatever projects are working their way through Planning Department, Planning Commission.
Yes, there's sometimes we partner with the engineer's office. Depending
what
on
would you say are the
project is.
greatest challenges right now that you're up against?
Employees.
Employees, okay?
Yes, no doubt. There's a lot of quality people out there, but in environmental sciences, there is grown so much that they have so many choices to go to. They can work for the EPA. They can work for a company that helps negotiate between the EPA and a consulting company, I guess you'd call it. And then places like Soil and Water and NRCS. So young people have a lot of choice, and with that, they're always searching for something a little better. And it isn't necessarily money that keeps them at a place. It's maybe where the job is, or if they can work from home. There's a whole array of different reasons that people move on to go to a different job. And Soil and Water is across the state. I mean, when we go to meetings, that's the number one thing that we're talking about. How do we retain these good employees? So it's been very frustrating. We've had some excellent people in our office, and we try to stay ahead of the game, talk to them, see what they need, see, what can we do to help retain you, basically. I mean, without saying that. And then they, out of the blue, they're into everything we're doing, and well, I found something that's a little bit more geared to what I want to do. And they said they love working in our office, but they decided to move on. So
Where do
we've
you-
had some that have moved on internally. Like we have one employee that now still works in our office, but works for NRCS. So that was a good move. But yeah, that's the number one issue that we're having right now.
But where do you recruit from, and what kind of background are you generally looking at?
Well, we use the recruiting agencies that are most known, and then we also have advertising like the Farm and Dairy, the Farm's Farmer, local newspapers, and we advertise within the Soil and Water districts. We used to advertise through Lorain County, but I think that's changed a little bit that we could do. I don't know all the information about that, but I don't know if we're able to do that anymore. And then just you don't know all the information until you get into it so far. So things change. So I think we want to find someone that's within our community that has an interest in what we want. So I'm going to start cold calling some, not people that would be interested, but people that might know people, if that makes sense. Just as another route to try to find someone because we want someone that's going to stay for 10, 15, 20 years. We don't, having a 1 or 2 year turnaround it's pretty frustrating. Even though we've had good people that come in and hit the ball rolling, without tripping.
So what are the degrees in, like, environmental studies, or what?
Environmental studies of some sort, yep. Environmental sciences, that's,
Okay.
yep.
I mean, it looks like you're basically proposing a flat line
Correct, yes, we
budget
are.
here. I think maybe off by $3.
No. What, I'm sorry, what's that?
Your flat line budget. Yeah.
Just looking at your $3 increase.
Oh, there's a three, I guess I didn't catch the $3.
Yeah, no,
I'm a big number person.
I know, it's a numbers joke, that's why I was.
Sorry, I didn't catch on.
Yeah.
$3 decrease.
That's right.
Oh, yeah, decrease, it's in blue, like maize in blue, okay.
You caught me, I didn't.
Okay. Any other?
So, yeah,
We have some other departments that'll fight for that $3.
hey, you never know. But I guess anyway, looking at the budget, I mean, 314,000 is basically for employees. If you add up the salary and Medicare and hospitalization, all that bunched up together, and that's basically be for about 4 employees. And then our second biggest expense is the rent that we pay back to you guys, about 21,000. And then some revenue streams that we have that pull money in for the county. Last year we pulled in about $84,600 in revenue from permitting and inspection and stuff for the stormwater position. And then the 21,000 we pay back to you guys in rent. And then the county home farm that we rent out for the county, it's about 24,000. And that's going out for bid this year. It's a 5-year lease. So I would expect that's going to go up a little bit with crop prices being up some. But we'll know in January what we get on that. So yeah, I guess with all that being said, I'm asking for 124,000 from you, the commissioners. And last year, what we got budgeted was 115,000, I think, for the state, but we actually received 127,000 from the state last year. State match. So kind of bring more money in than you give us. So
That's not a bad deal.
Yeah.
Yep.
We appreciate that you go after the grants.
Yep. So I guess I'd entertain any more questions that you might have, or
Questions? No? Wow, you did such a great job.
Thank you, Will.
Yeah,
Well-
keep up the great work. You guys are really doing good work. It's important. We need anything that flows to Lake Erie to be as clean as possible. So,
Okay, and tell everybody we said hello.
we'll do that. Appreciate it. Appreciate your support every year, and wish you guys the best. But holidays are coming up, so Merry Christmas.
yeah, same to you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Will.
All right. Yep. Take care.
Thanks, Will.
Thank you.
Okay.
Doctor is in the house.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Want me to text somebody,
we're gonna,
Larry or Jacob, to come on in? or
sure.
what?
We're gonna move on next to our county coroner, Dr. Miller. Good morning, sir. Hi, how are you? You got copies for us?
Thank you.
Great. Oh, we're great. Awesome. There you go, Dave.
Sorry, I'm
Okay, thank you.
Trying to text
Kids are always on their phones, you know.
I'm trying to text at 12:30, yeah. Yeah, you are older than I am, aren't you?
Yeah. I don't know by how much.
I don't know, 61 in
I'm
December.
62. January, so I'll be
Oh,
63.
You're
Yeah,
really
an old fogey.
Okay, yeah. Hey, you'll get social security.
Oh. Cut it up now. Be nice. Okay.
Hello.
Good morning, doctor.
So we've handed out just it's a sort of decade overview of the volume and the workload changes that we've seen at the coroner's office. Some of it's related to just population increases. When I started here in 2011, we had 2 hospitals. Now we have 3 hospitals and 2 level 3 trauma centers. So more of our injury and accident-related things are staying home rather than being transferred to another county. But the major cases, of course, still go to either Cuyahoga or Lucas County for severe injuries because they have actual trauma hospitals. So you can see that our workload goes up some. Our request this year is up a little. Last year we were just under $1 million. This year we're just over $1 million. The main thing, in addition to things like the state mandated change in my salary, change in the employee salary to try to preserve some of their buying power in eyeing the inflation, and the PERS, of course, goes up with the salary fund. Other things that are on the horizon expense-wise as far as changes, I talked to the president of our toxicology contractor that we use in Indiana, and he expects that their price will go up to follow inflation. Every year it goes up $5 or $10. We have a volume contract with them. We don't pay their retail list price, but it does go up every year, and we spend about $120,000 on toxicology testing. That's our one major revenue item is when the state budget puts it in, the Department of Health gives the entire state $1 million a year to pay coroner toxicology fees. So we end up with about $36,000 reimbursed on $120,000. But that's our main revenue. Our other revenue is my ability to charge for conducting autopsies on inmates at the prisons, because the state facilities have to pay me for investigating that death. They changed the law. It's new in the last few years, but that in a very busy year will generate about $6,000 because we only get 1 or 2 inmates a year at $12.50 each. So the coroner basically doesn't have a major revenue stream, as you know. And then the other thing, we changed our gas mileage reimbursement a little bit with an eye to the gas prices. And our transportation service, after many years, went up from $120 to $125, so that will be a couple $1,000s a year as they transport decedents for us. And of course, Spectrum reliably raised their rates again this year, so we need a little increase there. And the professional dues, or rather the state association dues for the Coroners Association is, it's a percentage of my salary, so it goes up too. So we have some increases and still trying to stay in line. This is our plan for spending. Of course, it's a very volume-driven thing. You can see this year we're probably not going to have as many cases as last year, but we're going to be close. A lot of it, our case count can vary tremendously. Just, you know, one year the drug overdoses may be 90, but the last couple of years they're back up to 140. And then, of course, last year we had some extra deaths with COVID for excess deaths for a variety of reasons. The COVID deaths themselves, they're natural diseases that are usually diagnosed, so I didn't really get involved with those, but the side effects of not going to the doctor, increased drug overdoses, increased suicides, things like that we did see. So last year was our highest year ever for casework. But we continue to just deal with what we're dealt. I don't expect it to go down much. The State Department of Development says we're going to gain about 8,000 residents a year or a decade, so we should be gaining another 80 or 160 cases in the next decade or two if you use the rule of thumb of 1 case for every 1,000 population annually. So that's basically it. So just modest increases to account for inflation and anticipated expense increases. The big wild card here is university hospitals, which is where our laboratory and morgue facilities are located. They're putting in a new computer system, and so as part of that, they're putting in a new billing system. So they're taking this opportunity to change the way I'm billed to itemized billing, and the prices are going to be negotiated for 2023. So I don't know if there's a major increase there. I don't anticipate it, but my costs for lab use at UH and the morgue and the autopsy services at UH, I don't know what they are because we haven't opened that negotiation yet, but I've been told it's coming soon. So happy to answer any questions.
And you're comfortable with your equipment costs? There's no
Yes.
really big needs
No,
there?
our equipment is fairly good. Our facilities is a county facility managed on the county facility budget. And unless, you know, we do the big change to a coroner's facility, we're good for our current equipment. We need to, you know, we have some antiquated computers. Most of ours do not, you know, they're older than being able to run Windows 11. So eventually, we'll get we only have about 8 or 10 computers anyway. But, you know, a computer or two a year, a monitor here and there. We don't have big equipment needs. Most of the autopsy equipment is part of the UH services provided. And we've adjusted our, you know, internet and phone and mileage reimbursement and things for what we expect. And we'll see what the economy does. So.
Questions? And the opioid deaths, I know
yeah,
it seems like we've seen spikes.
Yeah, lately, I thought it was going to go down for a while, but I think we're going to end the year not too far under last year, which was one of our bigger years at 142, give or take. We may not hit 140 this year, but we'll be in the 130s probably. Because for a while it slumped, but it's back pretty steady at the moment. So.
Okay. Okay, very good,
Thank you.
Dr. Miller. Definitely appreciate it. Thanks for the job that you do. You do great work.
Oh, thank you.
Great work.
Thanks for coming in early. Got out early. Jacob can't get here early.
Okay.
Anybody who knows this guy? Maybe
Okay.
this guy. They're both quick.
Okay.
Those two.
Well, at this point, we're gonna, we'll pause in the budget hearings and we'll resume shortly.
Pardon?
And we are resuming our budget hearings this morning. We're now joined by Dan Telerik, the county treasurer. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Our 23 is the same as 22, the budget, except for a 3% raise in payroll and PERS, $3,000 in equipment, and $15,000 in computer contracts. In the spring, we went $1 million for interest. We're going to change it to 1.6 at the moment for 2023. And that's all I got to say.
How is your small remodel going in the office? I know you guys were trying to improve the flow for the public.
We're working on it. Our counter is slated to be delivered at the end of next month, so we hope to be in working order by the time tax bills are distributed in January.
Hopefully.
Indeed.
And then you'll have an improved traffic flow.
Hopefully.
Yes.
And more of a security.
Depends on our elevator system if you're gonna have traffic flow, right?
Well,
Look at him, he's like.
well, you know, that box we have downstairs, you know, in the first, that was a home run.
Okay.
I kick myself every day that we didn't do that 10, 20 years ago, seriously.
That's what I was gonna ask you, if you're gonna leave it down. I
Oh,
mean,
please
well.
don't have that thing moved. Honestly, that's a gold mine for everybody and the people like that too.
Yeah.
And we give you guys credit.
That's such a giver.
Now, you said you were investing more in equipment, this new computer equipment?
Not computer, I meant contract, I'm sorry, I
Oh.
said contracts. Our
Contracts.
contracts, everything else is going up, so we put an additional 15,000, it was 90,000 last year, it's 105, I believe, this year we're asking. Because you just don't know. A lot of that would be that smart bill, and they're gonna be going up a wee bit. But everybody is.
But you're good on computers?
We're
We're in the process of updating our hardware because, again, we just needed, a lot of our equipment is upwards of 15 or 20 years old at the moment. So there are a few things that we need to purchase.
And that's gonna be purchased out of the DTAC money,
Oh, okay,
not general fund.
okay. And more continued good news on the interest. That's great.
You know, in the spring, when I only said $1 million, nobody wanted our money. Nobody
Right.
would pay us for anything.
Yeah, that's right. We were
Now
paying
they're
them to take it.
calling us,
Right.
asking us, hey, don't you got any money? Can't you move it around someplace? What are you doing with that art money and all that
Right,
kind of stuff?
right.
So it's it's from the sublime to the ridiculous.
Okay. Any other questions?
You know, they always say there's two things in life, death and taxes.
Right.
You had death before me, and now you have taxes.
Oh, my goodness.
You had the
Jeez, there you
coroner.
go.
Think about that. Did you do that purposely?
Yeah, no, I was like, where's he going with this? Is he dead? Is he standing here with a voice?
We had the coroner, doesn't he talk about death and treasure, about taxes?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Teresa planned it that way.
Yeah, where is she?
Yeah,
I'm covering today.
Are you really?
Yes.
oh, boy.
I used
We
to
all set?
used to tease my mother about giving me the name Matthew, because I said, you know, I'm a politician, Mom, so I don't know if it's good for folks to know that St. Matthew is a tax collector. So, funny how that works. Any other questions, comments? No?
I appreciate you
Hey.
running down really
Okay, well,
quick like that. so.
well, thank you very much.
Sounds
Appreciate
good.
it.
You bet,
Appreciate you
sir.
coming
You
in.
Take
guys
care.
have a good day.
Thank
Yep,
you.
have a good holiday.
All righty?
Okay.
Whoops.
We're going to pause again, and up next, when we return, we'll have probate judge Jim Walther.
And then, veteran, he said he's gonna be here at 11:15 now, so we can be
And then
bam,
Veteran
bam.
Services.
Yeah.
11:15.
Yeah.
Okay. And
So
I will
we'll-
get no answer from,
Okay.
okay.
So we'll pause it this time. And we have resumed with our budget hearings. Up next, Probate Judge Jim Walter. Good morning, Judge.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, thanks for getting me in early, and I don't know if mine is the simplest budget that you have out of all the budgets. It is 90, I did the math, I think 96.5% of my budget is salaries, and the remaining 27,000 is just some, contracts for some things that we do in the office. I'm willing to ask any questions. I think this has a small increase from last year. I think we're still down one employee, but hopefully the budget has that extra employee in it. We continue to have more cases than the year before. Like I said previously off the record, we work in a growth industry. And so as long as they keep making more people, I'll have a job over there, so. Does anybody have any questions at all?
What kind of challenges are you facing in the courtroom?
The biggest challenge right now seems to be younger adults with serious mental illness in their 20s and 30s and 40s. I have programs for those persons that are older, but there aren't programs in place. I have been running my AOT program, that's the assisted outpatient treatment, but there seems to be a disconnect between one of the service providers in the community and getting those people into the program, and we had a meeting yesterday on trying to fix that. Other than that, serving people who are indigent is always difficult, finding persons to be guardians, especially finding persons to be guardians of if they do have serious mental illness and they're not otherwise in a residential facility. So if you have a person that lives in the community and they have a serious mental illness, I'm not saying it's impossible, it's almost next to impossible for a guardian to do the things that are necessary to make an improvement in that person's lives.
And how's the Veterans Treatment Court going?
Oh, it has its challenges. No matter what, addiction is stronger than any of us give it credit for. Just when I think I have the answers, I don't. And so it is always there. It is, I say it just always is like a roaring lion roving around waiting to pounce on the first time that somebody who is prone to addiction, that they have a weakness or have a moment in which they think they have it made and they don't. So it takes our team, to just remain vigilant.
Any other questions for the judge? No? Judge, I know you're a little under the weather and you got a 11:15 appointment, so we'll let you run. Thanks
Yeah,
for coming in
thanks.
early.
Thanks, Judge.
All right, take care.
Okay. And up next, Veteran Services Commission.
Mr. Jacob Smith, nice to see you.
Good to see you, Commissioners. How you doing today?
We're doing well, sir.
Get my water. Also, I can advertise for Army while we're on
No, here we go.
Online there. Thanks for coming in an hour and a half early.
No problem. You want me to just go over a couple things? or
Well,
do you have any
maybe give us
questions?
a brief overview for the folks at home who are watching about the Veteran Services Commission, the amazing services you provide for our veterans in the county.
Yeah, so we're funded through 0.5 of the millage of the property tax in 2022, and the number that I used and the board used to come up with the budget was a millage of 4.4 million. The budget we are submitting is 3.99, so we'll just say 4 to make the numbers easy. The three main things we do at the Veterans Service Commission is, one, we assist local veterans filing claims. It's something we're very proud of. As a matter of fact, our claims have actually gone up. Advertising the amount we spent on advertising has gone down, and the amount of claims for filing is going up. And the reason for that is we have really worked to develop our people, right? And when you have a good product and you're doing a good job, you don't need to spend as much on advertising. The word will get out by itself. And that's what we see happening. We also are doing financial assistance this year. We actually started a legal assistance program for veterans of the county, so that if you have a veteran that needs a will or probate issues, they can come to us, and if they qualify, they can get assistance with that. That's something that not a lot of counties in the state of Ohio are doing, but wills are what I call 10-80-10 problems. And what I mean by 10-80-10 problems are the poorest 10% have legal assistance that will do that for them. The richest 10% can afford to do it themselves. That 80% in the middle don't really think about it or don't have the money to do it. So we're really trying to target that. The other thing we're very proud of is last year, according to the draft reports that we got, we were number 2 in the state in financially assisting veterans in the entire state. We actually spent more financially assisting veterans than Cuyahoga County spent in financially assisting. And we were just under $1 million as of September 28th of this year, 27th. The auditor informed us that we had spent over $1 million financially assisting veterans of this county. We predict that we're going to continue to see an increase in that because the federal dollars are drying up. In 2021, we did not spend nearly what we thought we were going to spend when it came to financial assistance. And the reason for that is there was so much COVID money pushed into the economy. That has started to trail off, and really by next year, we expect it not to be in existence. So we predict that there's going to be a greater need for that with the economy starting to take a downturn as well. One of the things we're very proud of, and I mentioned it last year and we continued it, is we're still seeing a continuing decrease on what we've spent for contract services as far as paying different companies to transport veterans to their appointments. We've actually found if we keep it in-house, we can do it a lot cheaper. We're talking $1.25 a mile compared to probably $4.50 a mile. However, that is seeing a little bit of an increase in the payroll as well. And there is a significantly large increase, so to speak, in payroll. We're seeing a 17% increase in payroll. One, because we're thinking of possibly hiring a couple other people to kind of help us catch up on some long overdue projects that we now have time to do. And as everyone knows, Social Security and VA did an 8.7% increase as a cost of living increase. So we're trying to figure out where that goes. The other thing is we kind of do pay raises in the fall, September, October timeframe instead of January. So we have to kind of build in for that the following year.
What are those increases? What are the pay increases?
It depends. It's based primarily on performance and longevity and cost of living. I mean, I don't have everyone's
Right.
individual pay with me right now, so I can't. Some people got more, some people got less. It just depends on a lot of different factors. The other thing that we're very proud of is that we're responsible for ordering grave flags for Memorial Day. We have been very proactive in talking to our supplier, and we asked him what the price was going to be if we bought in January. He said if you can buy now, you can save quite a bit. So we're actually buying flags now, so we save some money in the long run there. The other thing we do is transportation, and I think I've gone into that, what we do. So.
Through the Mr. President.
Sure, yeah.
Can I ask you to just give us a little overview on how the remodel's coming along?
Oh, yes, and thank you for that. First of all, I want to thank the commissioners for their support in the remodel. The remodel's just about done. We had to we had to close the office the week before Thanksgiving for 2 days because they had to shut the power off to the building. That is done. They got a couple minor things left to do with some doors and touch-up paint once they get that done. And the actual physical inside remodel will be done. The driveway is now complete. Instead of paint restriping it now, they're going to wait till spring, which makes sense. The only major thing we have left to do would be installing the new computer servers. So, and we're going to do a grand opening sometime in the spring.
That was my next question. Make
Yeah.
sure we all get an email on that.
Yes, I will certainly do that. But we're real happy.
Any idea where you think your actual spend rate is going to be?
Yeah, so this year, as of November 2nd of this year, our budget for last year was 3.443. As of November 2nd, we had, if you don't include payroll, we had $575,000 left for the year. So it kind of gives you an idea of where we're at now.
Okay.
But remember, we're trying to hold 300,000 of that for the Veteran Service Fund. The other thing is, I don't want to make it sound like we're just pushing money out to veterans just to push it out. I want to remind the commissioners and the county that we actually found a case of fraud, and we actually went after that individual. And that individual, we worked very closely with the prosecutor's office, and they were able to recover those funds. So that has already been returned to the county.
You know, I always tell people all the time, it's not our money.
Right.
Maybe it's our money to manage, but it's not our money, and getting it back out, you know, to help the veterans is the important part of it, and same with the money we have here to get back out to help people in the community. So, okay. Any other questions? Seeing none? Yeah, you know, if you got a few minutes after the meeting, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit.
Yes,
Okay?
sir. Absolutely.
Casey was kind of crunching those numbers while you were talking, and you were right on those numbers.
On what?
Your
Your spend.
actual spend versus your budget.
Oh.
And what you were gonna have left over. So. He's over here crunching while you're talking.
You're at 450 now. You're at 500
So-
beginning of the month. You're at 450 now. So.
So there you go. So
You're right in the ballpark.
you see that real-time fact-checking.
There you go. There you go.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Jacob. Well, at this point, any other business come before the board? Seeing none, clerk's report.
Tomorrow, Wednesday, November 30th, is the commissioners' meeting at 9:30.
Okay, well, it seems like we've taken care of business for the day, so this meeting is adjourned.